Today's episode features a true Hoosier who's going to share how her passion for community hasn't just inspired her education, but it's enabled her to build a career that she loves. Riana Dozier has had a full circle journey that we believe will help you find inspiration, motivation, and permission to take the space when you need it most. Riana, welcome to See Yourself In.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're excited to have you here today. I teased it in the opener, but before the episode we were talking, and you shared that you were born and raised in Indiana.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us a little bit about what's kept you here.
So family, honestly, family and the job. So I left for college for 5 years, and then I came back, and then I've been stuck at Goodwill ever since.
That's amazing. Your childhood in Indy, you were exposed to community very early on. Talk to us a little bit about that and just set the tone for what you were thinking when you graduated high school.
Absolutely. So I am from the East Side. I'm an East Side baby. We went to Charles A. Tinley Accelerated School. It's right there off 38th and Meadows. So part of that was a lot of volunteer work. I was super active in school, student council, I was secretary at the time, and then all of my outside club activities. And then with the early college development program at Tinley, I was able to graduate with a year's worth of college.
Wow. Wow. So was that program available to anyone?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. What made you as a high school student recognize the importance of that?
I think part of it was our school motto. So the motto at the time was college or die. So they were pretty much grooming us for college or grooming us to realize the importance of education.
Yeah. So when you started taking those classes, were they general studies? Were you focused on a specific pathway?
In high school, no, it was general studies. And the funny part is, too, up until my senior year, I'm going to be a teacher. I love algebra. I love Algebra 2. And then we had to do a senior capstone. So in that capstone, I did a program of women in engineering. And then I learned that there was this other facet of the STEM life. And it was that last moment right before graduation that I decided I'm going to be an engineer.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So you knew graduating high school that you were going to go into college.
Yes, ma'am.
You'd already gotten a head start on college. So where did you ultimately go to college? And did you stay down the engineering path?
I did. So I went to the University of Dayton in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
They have an awesome engineering program. When I did get there, I was undecided engineer. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew I had a brain of, I like to take things apart, see how they work, and then maybe fix it per se. So mechanical engineering is where I went.
Wow. And 4-year program.
Yes.
And then you graduated from college.
I did.
And you decided to come back to Indiana.
I did.
Tell us a little bit. Obviously, family brought you back, but I imagine when you were at Dayton, you were building community, you were creating a network,
Yes.
and then you came back to Indy.
I did.
Maybe without that network.
So the program was for years, but in full transparency, college is hard. College is extremely hard. So it did take me 5 years. I took a little bit of a time off due to just family personal reasons. So then once I came back home. My parents allowed me to take a year off. So they were like, regroup. We know now it's time for adulting. Adulting is like really hard.
Yeah.
So it was like, we get your life together. And then boom, COVID hit. So then I was in that year of COVID trying to find work, and it took a while. So it took me 2 years to find a job. And then I came across Goodwill. And I got acquainted with Goodwill through networking. So I used to volunteer for them all the time in high school and in college. And then I knew someone with the Work One program. She passed it off to another neighbor who was like working closely for a partnership with Goodwill at the time. And I received an email, and I always tell the story, I thought it was spam because I do a lot of volunteer work. So you get notifications of like, oh, this is what's happening in your area. And Jim Humphrey, who was the president at the time, he said, hey, I'm following back up on this. Just want to make sure this is the right person. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is talking about a job. Let me go figure out what's going on.
So check your spam folder.
Yes.
That's the first thing. But I want to go back a little bit. So you were networking during those 2 years that you were exploring what next would look like. And I think that's a really important takeaway for people listening, because we talk so much, on See Yourself In about the importance of networking, but it's not just meeting the person. It's building the relationship, right? I love that. Okay, so you started at Goodwill.
I did.
And what did you start at that role?
So I started as an intern.
Okay.
So I think it was like a 6 to 8 month contract. But within my first 30 days, they said, oh, no, we want you full time. I said, oh, are we sure? They said, absolutely. And then that's when I was introduced to the Cook project. They said, we actually need an engineer to lead this project. We think this would be perfect for you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's so much in there. Let's take a step back. Explain to us Cook Medical and this project.
Absolutely. So So Cook Medical decided we needed to do something in the community. Same with Goodwill, and we already have our missions program. So I think this was right after the George Floyd incident, and they said we have to do something. So we chose an area that it was a food desert, a job desert, and health desert. So that's kind of where Cook and Goodwill came together and decided, we'll give you food and we'll give you jobs. So we started off with the jobs, which is our facility. So it is Goodwill Commercial Services, which is also a different side of Goodwill that people forget about. Most of the time you hear Goodwill, you think retail. So taking that contract manufacturing side of it, Cook says we have parts, we need somebody to build it, we just need somebody to run this building. And so that's kind of where we come in. So in contract manufacturing, we go, we see what they're doing, bring it back, and then I kind of poke-yoke it for our people.
That's incredible. Well, and the impact of that, right? I mean, that's what's happening operationally within the facility.
Absolutely.
But what does it mean to be in a position where you're working in the community that you grew up in and you're helping provide access to employment, which means that people have the ability to take care of their families. And on the same token, you're also ensuring that those community spaces are livable and accessible.
Absolutely. I think for me, it came full circle. I was lost, didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I was presented this opportunity and I said, absolutely, I will go back home. This is now the backyard. I remember the current Eskenazi Health Pavilion is in the parking lot of Valley City. Being a kid, running around in that store. And then now our facility, the Goodwill and Cook Medical Building, is where the church used to be. So just seeing that community come back, because I did see the leaving and then coming back, and it was just pretty much abandoned in that area. So now seeing us being able to bring life back to that community and being part of it, definitely is like a big part in my heart for that.
Oh, absolutely. Could you have ever imagined as a young girl growing up that you'd be doing work that's truly like revitalizing the community?
No, and I never even knew what my path was. So being confused and not knowing what I wanted to do, and now I've been given this big ticket per se to like revitalize my community and be that spokesperson for my community. That makes me, I'm like, oh, I have this passion for life. Now I want to help people. That's my thing.
Well, and I love that you're here on See Yourself In telling your story, because there are so many people listening right now that know what they care about, and they might have an idea of what they want life to look like, but they have no idea how to take this starting point and get to a finish line.
Absolutely.
And so hearing your story is just going to be so valuable for everybody listening. Oh, I love that. Okay, let's transition a little bit, because you're also sitting at the intersection of life sciences, healthcare, technology, advanced manufacturing, and logistics. Like, you are representing See Yourself In with full force. And so talk to us just a little bit about being a Black woman in these spaces, especially a Black woman in STEM.
Yes. I just need to keep you in my pocket. The description you just did for me was just amazing. I think a lot of it too, the biggest part of it is knowing that you belong here. Once you get used to knowing that you're the only person of the room. Sometimes I'm the only female in the room, and then sometimes I am also the only person of color in the room. But reminding yourself that you deserve to be here is the number one thing for anybody, a person of color or woman minority in the STEM field, is you belong to be here and you're here for a reason. Yeah. And I deserve to be at this table just as much as the next person.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What are you so passionate about when it comes to this work? And this work can be both, right? Serving the community and working in places and for companies that are very values driven, but also being in engineering, advanced manufacturing, and all the industries that we just named that you're at the intersection of.
So I think with Goodwill, and most people come to Goodwill for the mission, and I'm another person that comes for the mission. So for my 38th Street location, we like to say we save 2 lives. So we save those who are using the med devices that we're creating, but also for the operators. For some of them, this is their only chance at life. They have been touched by the criminal justice system. They have some sort of mental barrier, physical barrier, learning barrier that no other company will take them, but we will. We say, hey, we see you. We can meet you where you're at. You are of value. Let's help you. So I think that in itself is what I preach for why I want to be here and where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's incredible. So for those listening who may not be familiar with Goodwill or Cook Medical, maybe start by telling us, what is Goodwill? What do you do?
Absolutely. So there is a different side to Goodwill. When we naturally hear Goodwill, we think of start over.
You're good. You're good.
So absolutely, there is a different side to Goodwill. Naturally, when we think Goodwill, we think retail and we think of their donation stores, but we are commercial services. So commercial services, contract manufacturing. So what that means is a customer can tell us, hey, we want to do this, or maybe it's a kitting, build, assembly, whatever it may be. And so we take that, see how they're doing it, and then bring it back and make it fit for our people.
So let's keep going with that. What does an engineer do at Goodwill?
Oh, that is a good question. And I think we're still trying to figure out. No. Let me start over. Sorry. Okay. Exit again, and then I got you.
So then the question begs to be asked: what does an engineer do at Goodwill?
Yeah. So my day-to-day role is a little different now in this manager role. So I'm now responsible for 3 different locations. We have an Eastside location. That's our 38th and Sheridan location, which is our partnership with Cook. We have a Westside location over in Tremont. So they have multiple customers. We have like 40 to 50 customers about in that area. Wow. Our West Side location in Tremont, so we have multiple customers at that location. And then we have our Bloomington location in Bloomington, Indiana. So that's a smaller manufacturing plant we have there. So for an engineer, for me at the 38th Street location, with it being our 1345 med device building, so I'm responsible for everything within that building, meeting the building management system. So we do a lot of facilities maintenance to maintain the clean room, and then all the equipment inside the clean room. But engineering in general, we're responsible for setting up the equipment, showing the operators how to work the equipment, doing the work instructions, and then we work hand in hand with quality to determine what our pass fails are and then setting that standard.
So you're not just doing engineering work. No. You're also, again, at the intersection of life sciences and advanced manufacturing and logistics. I mean, it sounds like you're almost triaging everything at the facility.
Absolutely, yes. But we're a small team, so everyone wears multiple hats.
Wow. Mm-hmm. What are some of the main products that are produced in your facilities?
So at the 38th Street, we're strictly Cook Medical, so it's all Cook devices. Okay. So between our PTI dilator, that's for tracheostomies, our RCF sheath, those are introducers, and then we've got a couple of other product transfers in the works at the moment.
That's incredible. Okay, so now let's talk about, we understand what Goodwill is. What is Cook Medical and how did they come into the picture?
Yeah, so this came about right after the George Floyd incident. Cook Medical and Goodwill both said, hey, there's something needs to be done. Let's come together. So they just decided to choose the east side of Indianapolis due to there being a food desert, job desert, and a health desert. So we said, what can we do and how can we help? With Goodwill being contract manufacturing and Cook Medical already manufacturing med devices, they decided, hey, we have these devices. We just need somebody to work it. We will provide a facility for you. We will provide a grocery store for you, and then the health pavilion is another company in itself. But so we sat down, and that's where our 38th and Sheridan plant came in.
Wow. Yeah. What does a project like that do for people living in the community in the surrounding area?
Absolutely. It provides such many... So, sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
Great.
What does a project like that and that collaboration do for the surrounding community?
So for that community, we were able to provide jobs for everyone in that area. I think the best part about it when we started the project were the amount of people coming and that lived in that area, like, hey, what's being built here? What's happening here? And we're like, hey, we're bringing jobs. Do you know somebody? Tell them to come on over.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And do you upskill them for jobs too? Like I'm assuming if you walk in, you may not have knowledge. So maybe you're coming in for a job and you're staying for a career.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what our turnaround rates are for. So we are here to meet you where you are, whether you have a learning disability, mental health disability, been touched by the criminal justice system. We are here to help you and meet you where you are. So you need no form of manufacturing training, no form of experience. We will meet you where you are.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, we wrap every episode of See Yourself In by asking whoever's sitting at the table to share 3 things that you've learned along your career journey that our listeners can maybe consider on theirs. And so I'll pass you the mic. What are 3 recommendations you might have for people listening that are ready to see themselves in Indiana?
Oh, that is such a great question. I think the first one is pretty much what I said about being a Black woman in STEM. You deserve to be here. I think for me, I was defeated in the 2-year process it took for me to get a job. So I think for my mantra and myself, I always say, you deserve to be here. I think the second thing would be your weaknesses can be your strengths. So I think it behooves you to know both your strengths and your weaknesses. We naturally lean into our strengths, but let's not negate those weaknesses and help them turn into our strengths, I think is kind of what I'm saying.
They say that, when you take any type of assessment, they'll say your greatest weaknesses are your greatest strengths, and your greatest strengths are your greatest weaknesses. Wow, so you're in good company.
Okay, good.
You're in good company with that thought. Yeah.
It's okay not to have a plan. We've got a long life to live. And I think it's okay to kind of figure it out as you go. Eventually, at some point, you do need to establish one. But I think it's okay right now, especially being early in my career. I think it's okay. It's okay not to have a plan.
I think it's absolutely okay. Yeah. Sometimes that's the beauty. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of these insights.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be here.
Absolutely. We're so glad that you were able to join us today to learn about Indiana's advanced industries and how you can start or enhance your career journey. Until next time, we hope that you'll be able to see yourself in the unlimited opportunities in Indiana.